Welcome to the Boomer Technician. This week we're still in Colorado. We headed about an hour south of my house to a town called Palmer Lake, which is just north of the U.S. Air Force Academy. And it's a local show supporting the fire department, so I'm hoping for a lot of local color, a lot of local people, and a lot of local cars. Well, one more thing before we go to the car show. Last week I had an opportunity to get some professional photographs of the Mustang taken in a professional photographer's studio. It was pretty cool. So stick around to the end of the video and I'll tell you how that happened and give you some footage of the actual shoot. And then we'll wrap things up. You know, unlike a lot of towns that have lake in their town name and maybe have a water tower in the center of town, Palmer Lake does in fact have a lake in the center of town. And on the outskirts of town was our car show. We've got the fire department there since they were the beneficiaries of this show. And as you can see, it's an all makes, all models, all year show, which is why I like these smaller town shows. They tend to have a wide variety of cars and nobody really turns their nose up at anything. Everything's welcome. Lots of interesting stuff. This particular show had quite a few cars from the pre-war era, and we'll take a look at some of those as we make our way through here. But the interesting thing is the sponsor of this show, the parking lot for this show, was the local medicational and recreational marijuana dispensary, which has got to be the most Colorado thing ever for a car show. But as I said, I just love the contrast between a Model A and a Ferrari sitting together at the same car show. But evidently the owner of the dispensary was a car enthusiast because this is his Brass Era Buick. And these cars just fascinate me. You get up close to them and they don't have any seat belts. This one's got that little round glass windshield. You're sitting in literally a bucket, the bucket seat, and the dashboard's a big hunk of plywood with a couple of gauges bolted to it. Just an incredibly simple car, but it's got a lot of really neat features. All this bright brass, including the brass on the fuel tank that says, in a very stylized script, Buick. And the owner also owned this very custom Chevy. It's got Cadillac fenders in the back. It's got one of the early Chevy hardtop roofs and a Corvette dash on the interior to go with that Corvette front clip. And under the hood, it's got a tune port injected motor. And I'm not really sure what the displacement is, but judging by the fender badge, it's a 327. And sticking with a Chevy theme, here's a mid-20s Chevy Superior. I'm not exactly sure this is a Brass Era car. It's right on the cusp of being one, with those wooden wheels. But it had an interesting feature, and the owner was nice enough to call me over and show me. The steering wheel flips up for easier access. A very cool feature. And here's a very neat little Austin Healey. I thought it was the real deal, but talking to the owner, it turns out it's a replica car. You can kind of tell that from the fender flares and the holes in the hood and a couple of other features, that kind of modern looking air conditioning duct in there. But a very interesting car. Rather than having the Austin 6 in it, it had a Chevy V8, which makes it a pretty dependable little driver. He really enjoyed it. He said it was a great car to take out. Now here's another home built, but it is not a replica. It is a K1 Attack. Purpose-built custom that you could put together yourself using Honda switchgear and driveline. It uses the Honda J Series V6. And talking to the owner, he said it was a really fun car to take out, and it's been, because of its Honda driveline, a really reliable custom for him. I found it interesting that there were a number of T-buckets at the show, and they all had very similar design elements, but were all completely unique from each other. And walking around them there it's always fun to look at the different features. We're going to go around to the back here in a second, and we're going to see one of them has a Jaguar IRS. That's this one here. And another of them has the quick change rear axle, which is a solid rear axle. So, you know, they're all red, they're all T-buckets, but they're all completely different. Now, if you don't have the skills to build a T-bucket like that, and you don't have the money to buy a Ferrari, you can still participate in these car shows. This is a very nice Triumph Spitfire, a great looking little car. The roof drops down. It's a great car for the weekend. It's very nicely finished. And, you know, today, if you wanted to buy one, you could go out and pick one up for $6,500. Probably not as nice as this one. This is probably a $10,000 to $12,000 car, but these are very competitive in the collector's world, and just a great little car, as is this red Plymouth. I think this is about a 64 or 65. Nicely turned out, as I often say, and that red color really sells it. And we'll take a look at the interior here. It's going to look very nice in there. I really like those bright pedals and the chrome trim here and there. And then, of course, this being a Mopar, when we move under the hood, I'm pretty sure, yep, we're going to see a big block. Could be a 383, could be a 440, could be a 400. We don't really know, but a fun little car to have. And sticking with our red Plymouth theme, here's a 55 two-door wagon. Not sure what's under the hood, but this is a really nicely finished interior. I especially like that door panel. Now we're going to take a quick look at 5 cars, starting with this early 50s Chevy, which those of you in the know will tell people you can drop a V8 right into it. This next car looks like a Rolls Royce, but it is in fact a Bentley. What's the difference? Well, the grille. That's pretty much it. And here we have a second generation Toyota Supra, which was what they say is the first true Supra. And here we have a lowered Cadillac with some nice custom touches to it. And finally, a 59 Ford that's not a Skyliner. So how about that? And here's a very nice Volkswagen bus that's got some interesting era-specific aftermarket accessories, starting with that spare mounted on the nose for more room on the inside. And look at this interior. I mean, the dash is black, which is kind of typical for Volkswagen, but those cheery seat covers are very, very cool. And then as we move around to the front of the truck, this pop-open windshield, that's something you don't see every day. And look how the wiper blades are just lying on the dash. An interesting way to get the job done. And in contrast to our cheery Volkswagen with its bright blue paint and plaid interior, here's a couple rat rod trucks. We'll start with this one with the skull in front of the radiator, followed by this, which may or may not be a GMC, but it's definitely got some GMC parts on it. And this truck definitely has some International Harvester parts on it. It's got the original business paint job on it for a North American van line, but it's been lowered down, and as we move into the interior, there's some custom touches there, such as the nice seats for the back passengers. And looking at the dash, I'm not sure if they've covered it in leather or what, but it's much nicer than it was when it left the factory. In contrast, this Plymouth Superbird appears to be exactly how it was when it left the factory. These Superbirds have some interesting design elements in them, starting with the vinyl roof. That's designed specifically to cover up the marks they made when they put in the flush rear window to make it faster on the super speedway. And that big black bracket in the trunk is designed to keep the wing from ripping off of the deck lid. Well, of course, we've got a big block Mopar engine here, and the engine bay's got this filler plate to transition from the engine bay to the nose. So a lot of interesting design features on the Superbird. And with that, we're going to jump to a parking lot with a couple of classic cars sitting outside. It's the Rocky Mountain Photography Studios, and I was asked by Haggerty Insurance to bring my car down so they could get some pictures of it to put it into their online price evaluation tool. So they took a number of photographs of it on the outside and in the engine bay on the interior, and they will be giving me some of these photographs for my own personal use. So I thought that was a great opportunity. I was very pleased to give them the Mustang 2 for photographs, and of course I'm going to get some great pictures out of it. So that's a win-win for us both. Now that wraps up this week's video. It was awfully nice to get that professional photographer to take some pictures of my car. It's good to see another car show, and it's been nice spending time here in Denver. But it's time to get back on the road, and over the next couple of weeks I hope to click off about 4 more states and 4 more car shows, so something to look forward to. And remember, while I'm out there, no matter where you go, there you are.